This meeting of the City of Eureka Springs City Council come to order. The clerk will establish a quorum, please.
David Mitchell.
Present.
Trey Zeller.
Here.
Terry McClung.
Here.
James DeVito.
Here.
Vicky Schneider.
Here.
Dee Perkypile.
Here.
We have 6.
All right. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we have listed a public hearing entitled Second Taxi Application. What we'll do is we will probably take...
They put their name on it?
Oh, have they? Okay. Do we have the list?
I'll go get it.
Okay, would you please?
Are we establishing
Yeah,
time?
we'll be about 3 minutes apiece. Would that be, what would the council prefer?
Is this a public hearing, or one of our rules going to be that we can ask questions of the presenters or not?
Yes?
We need
No.
ground rules. Okay.
No? Okay.
This is public input. If we
Okay.
get involved
Okay.
in
So
a
this-
back and forth, we're going to be here all night long.
Okay.
Okay.
Did we not set
Okay,
from 6
I
to
just
7
wanted
o'clock?
to know the rules. Okay.
6 to 7 o'clock, you can give them
Yes.
an hour? Okay.
The latest.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Whatever y'all want. I mean, this is your ball game. I'm
I
just the
thought that's
umpire.
what we set last time.
Okay.
It's
Sounds
up
like
to-
we've got quite a few people out there. So
up to
let's get
20
this
people
ready.
if they take 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think we need a discussion of the zip line.
3 times.
Hi, Terry, you were
66.
good.
That's more than that.
There
It's
we
in
go.
the county. It's on private property in the county,
What is?
the zip line.
Oh, we went. I was being facetious.
Oh, you did?
How could we
Yeah, that
tell?
was not motioned or anything.
This is the first sheet. There are some
Okay.
more people coming in, so I left
Okay.
another sheet out there for them.
Just ask Terry how much he likes the tree.
Okay. We'll start with the first list. If I get the last name wrong, I hope everybody remembers what number they listed under. First gentleman is David L., and I want to say Hussey.
Yeah, go ahead and say it.
Okay.
That's right.
If I'm incorrect, I can be corrected when I get here.
What's his name?
Okay. How you doing, sir? Come down here to the microphone, please. Did I get your last name right, sir? Is it Hussey? Outstanding. Here you go. 1 and 1.
Thank you.
There you go.
I am David Hussey, and I have lived here 32 years, half of my life. David's lived here longer than I have, and for over 20 years he's provided taxi service to this entire community. David supplies this town a service that is not merely a shuttle, but from venue to venue. He supplies this entire town with a service year-round, night and day, in all types of weather, and deals with all types of situations. Those of us in the community who don't drive would sorely miss his services. He provides a security for all of us. I hope that this table, when it votes, will vote in favor of David and Eureka Taxi, but most importantly, I hope that you'll vote in favor of this community, what it needs and what it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next will be Glenn Brown. Hey, Glenn. How you doing?
How are you?
Good. Step up. Introduce
My name is Glenn Brown. I'm here representing Abundant Transportation. We have been in this battle for a long year and a half now. I've been at this table many times, many different meetings. We're not here trying to shut down Eureka Taxi. We don't want to shut anybody down. We just want a fair chance to come in and operate our business the way that we do in Northwest Arkansas. Metered cars, striped cars, cars with top lights, limousines, executive cars, buses. I mean, we have everything covered. We have four-wheel drives for the wintertime. If we get approved tonight, we will have 2 staff members here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Weekends, we will bring over more cars from the Northwest Arkansas area. And hopefully everybody can see the need, because there's a lot of support going every which direction right now, and I just think that it's time for Eureka to actually see taxis on the streets. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. David Thompson.
Was that Thompson?
Thompson, T-O-M-P-S-O-N. How you doing, sir? Step up and introduce yourself.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, I am David Thompson. I am the Director of Executive Services for Abundant Transportation based in Bentonville. I don't have to remind you or anybody else in this community that Bentonville is the home of Walmart and Sam's Club. What most citizens here may not be aware of is the amount of tourism that comes in and out of the Bentonville area. Along with the tourists are art seekers traveling to see Crystal Bridges Museum, as well as the new 21C Museum Hotel. Many of these people are here for an extended amount of time, needing other things to occupy them while they're here. They may be aware that Eureka Springs is close, but they may not have the transportation, or for that matter, may be nervous to bring their rental cars to a place where they're unfamiliar with the area. With Eureka Springs having so much to offer art seekers, what an amazing opportunity to have a transportation company here that has the ability to bring them in with such things as tours from Bentonville museums to the Art Walk and vice versa, not to mention your vast array of variety shops and stores. With our executive fleet, we have the ability to bring in Eureka Springs not only the aforementioned, but business people from all over the world that are in the area over the weekend. In addition to offering Eureka Springs a clean, comfortable, reputable taxi service, we can also cater to those who want limousine service without booking hassle and the flash of a stretch limousine. We at Abundant know the value of not only having transportation, but having transportation that you can count on and rely on at all times. With major events coming up in Eureka Springs, such as the Arts Festivals, the Attorneys Convention, Bike Week, the Diversity Weekend, we believe that our services will not only be a necessity for Eureka Springs, but also a welcome change. And I want to stress at this point that, like Mr. Brown said earlier, we are not here to dig into anybody's profits or take anything away from anybody in this city. We just want to help. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Well, I say Billy Benson. I say Billy, I don't know. How you doing?
Good evening, City Council. My name is Billy Benson, and I would like to thank the Eureka Springs Taxi for their services, but I have a problem. I came here with my 2 children and my spouse. We walked up and down the streets all day long. Of course, the kids had their candy apples and their fudge and their cotton candy. And by the end of the day, they were pretty exhausted, as were us adults. The trouble was, we called for a taxi, and an hour later, it still did not show up. Called them back. They said, "Ma'am, you're next on the list. We will be there in 15 to 20 minutes." 35 minutes went by, and we just threw up our hands and ended up walking, 2 children, 2 and 4, with all our bags from the shopping all day, all the way up to down to Highway 23 to the Best Western. Exhausted. The kids by that time were grumpy. We were grumpy. We were hungry. All I'm saying is, I believe, with as many people as you have visiting this wonderful city, that we need 2 taxi companies. Thank you for your time and your consideration. Have a good evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Bill Dye. How you doing, sir?
Hi, good evening. My name is Bill Dye. I'm the operations manager for Abundant Transportation. I'm responsible for everything that goes on in the evening and overnight hours. I'm here just to let you know that every weekend, I've been getting calls from people from Eureka Springs seeking a taxi to and from where they need to go. And it pains me to tell them that right now we are not able to come to Eureka Springs, but soon, hopefully. And this happens, I would say I would get about 6 to 10 phone calls every Friday and Saturday, and a couple during the week. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you. Jay McDonald?
Maybe we should just open that and leave it open.
Yeah. May have to. Any trouble? Good.
Hi, my name is Jay McDonald, and I've been in the hospitality business in this town for like 20 years now, and working behind the front desk of historic hotels. And I'll put it this way. I love Fuzzy to pieces. I love him. He's the greatest guy on earth. But I'd say at least 80% of the time that I've called for a guest to get a cab, it's been almost impossible to get it. I'm not saying there's times he hasn't shown up. He has. But there's other times where, they just haven't shown up. So for me, it was a godsend having the other taxi service here. It was so much easier for me to be able to pick that phone up when somebody drunk walked in off the street. Trust me, I'm working right there at Pendergrass Corner, and that's where half the bars are. And I get drunks all night long. I am a night auditor, 11 to 7, and I get all the drunks on the weekend. And those people come walking in the doors, and they're looking for a cab. And, when you call and you can't get a cab and you got somebody throwing up on your lobby, that sucks. What it is, it makes it very difficult for not only those of us who have to work those shifts, okay, but in the end, what it makes us look like is that we're incompetent and capable of taking care of our guests. And for me, customer service and guest services are the most important thing. And that's what this town is about. That's what we're here for, okay? That's how we make our living, okay, is making these people out there feel special, okay? If we can't get a cab when they need one, that sucks for us. It makes us look bad, okay? So for me, it's just like, I don't know, I just think for our sake, for our image as a city, and for the product that we, give these people, that's part of the customer service, is having, something available, enough available for them. And I'm not saying Fuzzy doesn't work his butt off. He does. I know he does. I see his cabs running up and down the street all night, but it's not enough. It's just not enough for what we have coming into town every weekend. Okay, and that's why I really think this is extremely important. I think it's important that we have this. And I'm not saying Fuzzy doesn't do a good job. I'm saying Fuzzy doesn't have enough people, enough cars, enough whatever. And he tries. I know he tries. Okay, I see him out there trying. I know. I'm out there all night long. I see. I know what's going on out there. So I know they're trying. They just can't meet demand. And that's why I really believe that it's necessary for us to have a little bit more, Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Do I do my song and dance now?
Yes. Please. Thank you.
See you guys later.
Okay. Cody Stussy? Cody?
Good evening. I'm Cody Susi. I'm the owner of Abundant Transportation. Wanted to drop something off first of all, a notarized sworn application as requested. So I wanted to drop that off so you guys have it on file. Same application that we already turned in, but a sworn notarized copy. Basically, we are here. We want to provide a 24/7 taxi service. We've obviously been shown the needs. Fuzzy does a phenomenal job, but the problem is we need more than just a couple cars. We need another service here. On top of it, the second level of service allows us to expand, increase the level of customer service, fit the level of demand as we're rolling into a busy season this year. that we can all handle it, we can all work together. I know I've worked with David in the past on limo stuff, and I'm hoping we can continue an open relationship of working together. Not coming in to put anybody out of business, not my goal. Not coming in on a white horse like I've been told or anything like that. I'm coming in to provide a service to a town that I love, and it's something that I love doing. So that's what we're here for.
Thank you, sir. Ray Hahn?
Thank you.
That's the rest of them? Okay. How are you?
I'm Ray Hahn, a local resident of 3 decades plus, and I would like to speak on David White's behalf. After all these years, all of these years, he has been a necessary asset to our town. I can't say I've called him a lot, but I've had numerous rides to and from the airport, and his promptness, professionalism, was way beyond the call of duty. It was wonderful. I also want to say that the decades that Mr. White has been offering his services to Eureka Springs, many weekends go by when many people party hardy, and Mr. White has picked them up, literally maybe off the street sometime, and brought them to safety, be it their motel or their home, without charge. And I think his service has been a necessary asset to this town. I would like to say that a town of 2,000 and a company coming from another town for weekends is something that is not necessary right now. We must preserve what we have. So thank you, and do the right thing.
Thank you, ma'am. Richard Isaacs?
Hi, my name is Richard Isaacs. I've been a citizen of Eureka Springs and a resident, an artist who's shown and sold work here for over 15 years. I've known Mr. White to be courteous, on time. He's been helpful to the community in many ways, gone out of his way to give people rides to the hospital, gone out of his way to help people when they're sick or unable to pay for said rides. He's endured over a couple of decades of winters when I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a company who would want to be in this town at all for the lack of revenue, and he's been there 24/7. I don't know what a franchise means in this town, but if it means anything, it should be protected. And I think the fact that this franchise may have been infringed upon by the access of other entities coming in, taking business away from Mr. White, has everything to do with the fact that he may not be running as many cabs and as many people for as many hours as some people would like to see. I appreciate your listening.
Thanks, sir. Barb Loper? Barb.
I'm Barbara Loper, and I thank you for this opportunity to express my opinions about David White and his taxi service. I've been here for 35 years, and I've always found him to be helpful and fair. And I don't have to call a taxi often, but whenever I meet someone who needs a taxi, I always give his number and name, and he's always there for them. And I go to the deli every morning for coffee, and Fuzzy's usually there early with his phone, and he takes calls there many times, and I've seen him get up and leave after 5 minutes to go pick someone up and take them. And I think he's dependable and a good person, and I think we need to respect him. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Karen Lindblad? Okay. This should be better right for you.
Karen Lindblad. I've lived here for 38 years. I know a little bit about this, having just been on city council, read all the state statutes on it, and the city agreements. I've heard many stories about the good service that Mr. White has given our city, from helping elderly people in need to get to the doctor or hospital and checking on them later to see if they were okay, or driving people to the airport in snowstorms because they had to make a flight. To me, this is good and exceptional service, and David's been doing this service in Eureka Springs for years and years. The city has a franchise with Mr. White, which requires that he have insurance, vehicles in safe and proper operating condition, among other requirements. He has met all the city requirements and the state requirements, because the state requires quite a bit. In 2006, Rob Wagner was issued a license by the city clerk treasurer to run a limo rides for $5 with none of these requirements for public safety, thereby sabotaging its own franchise and the safety of its citizens, an act which I find irresponsible. The city should be protecting its franchise for the health and safety of the public. This act hurt Mr. White's business because with a franchise and as a public conveyance, which is what he is, he has to go by state law and pay for a lot of things that the state law requires. And it's not possible for him to pay all that and charge $5 for rides, and this license allowed the limo service to undercut his business, which is one of the reasons why he doesn't have a bigger staff and more vehicles. And this, to me, is just absolutely unforgivable that the city did this. Because if franchises don't mean anything, then let's have a couple other electric companies come into town. A franchise is a legal agreement, and this city has not upheld its side of that franchise. Now we are considering another taxi franchise which could further damage one of the cities, the one that the city already has. Frankly, I see no need for another, and I believe to have a second taxi, the council needs to establish need. No matter what the CAPC says about increased business, when I talk to other business owners, none of them are seeing this increase. Tourism is down, and we don't need a second franchise. Mr. White has acted in good faith, fulfilled the state and city franchise requirements, and given us good service for many years. It's time the city protect this franchise. If not, the city should stop sabotaging Mr. White's business, buy out his franchise as required by law, and then move on. But we don't need another taxi service here. So I hope that you will consider not sabotaging your own franchise any further. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Do you need your pencil back?
I do need my pencil. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lanny Balance. I can't read this one. I don't know what that is.
Let's see if I can read it.
It's Balance.
Good evening.
How are you? There you go.
Well, thanks. Evening, folks. I'm Laney Balance. I'm a resident of Eureka Springs, registered voter. I've lived here for over 21 years. I've been well served by Mr. White's company, and I've been well satisfied with Mr. White's company. My family has been well served and well satisfied with him. All my guests who have taken advantage of his service have been well served by him and well satisfied with his service. Underlying this controversy remains the fact that our government body is spending so much time and effort on who is allowed to conduct commerce on our streets, while they spend a paltry pittance on the condition of the streets. I find that obscene and absurd. Mr. White's done a good job. There's been no enforcement keeping other taxis off the street, which has allowed his business to be infringed upon. And therefore, he doesn't know when he needs a full staff. He knows when he should need a full staff, but there's been so many people come in and try to step all over his business that how can he know? How can he afford to go way into debt providing this service when he's not sure if somebody else is going to be allowed to come in and walk all over it? I've noticed that, to my knowledge, there are no official studies that have been done establishing a need. We've heard a lot of anecdotes. We've heard a lot of hearsay evidence, but I've not seen any official study establishing a need for another taxi service in this city. I'd like us just to observe a moment of silence in reflection of what this community has become and where it's heading and what we would like to see this city become. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Julie Valentine, I think you're next. We had to decipher your signature because I had never seen it before. I should. Sales pitch if I ever heard one. Is that good for you?
Yeah, that's fine. My name's Julie Kahn Valentine, and I came here when I was 25 years old, and I have to admit I came from a very sad, sick, tired mind from a very overcrowded Los Angeles area, Laguna Beach. And I was happy there, and in a very short time I saw it destroyed by progress. And which made me crazy because, I don't know, I thought it would make everybody crazy, but it seemed like I felt like I was the only one. I was brought to Eureka Springs because I was sick, and he said, I'm going to take you, my husband said, I'm going to take you someplace where you'll be safe, and he brought me here. And I've lived here, and now I'm 69 now, and Los Angeles, Las Vegas, all these places, people, why can't they have 1 million taxis running around? Why can't we live in a town that is an inspiration for people that want to have children that live here and that will know the taxi driver when they're 35, when they're 50, and almost 70, and know that when you call them, it's not only just a taxi car with a driver you have no idea who it is, but it's somebody that you know and have known for years. Why can't we be a town like in the movies? And I don't know. I hope that taxi stays in Fuzzy's hands because I love him. I've known him for a long time. He's a good guy, and he deserves to be respected. He's lived here, worked here, like myself, like many of us. We deserve to be respected and not have an encroachment of millions of people that children they have to ride. They have to ride because they don't know how to walk. And it's a bad place to walk because there's just so much pollution. Too many taxis and too many cars. So anyway, thank you very much. My voice is shaking. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you, Julie.
Richard Griffith. I hear footsteps. Hey, Richard.
They don't understand this.
Go ahead.
My name is Richard Griffith. I come here on behalf of David White. I've lived here since 1965. I'm also one of his part-time drivers. And I'd just like to say that, like previous speakers have said, that we've taken people to hospitals, we've gone extra mile, and he deserves to get treated well. That's all I can say.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Next is Graham Robinson. I believe that's correct. Ballpark. Okay, Pat Masukas. Would you go get her, please? Okay. How are you?
Good evening. My name is Pat Matsoukas. I live at 5 Mountain. I'm out in the hallway, and there's a whole bunch of us out there listening, feeling, and it is disappointing that through council's actions from 2006 forward that we're even here, because if this had been dealt with in 2006, we wouldn't be here. And we wouldn't be having this animosity, and we would have one taxi, and we'd all be having Monday night somewhere else. That's what I know. I know that David has been my friend and neighbor for many years, and I'm happy to say that I claim him as my friend. Have we fought every day? Do our dogs love each other? Absolutely. But does it take away the fact that as a business person, I understand the difference between a franchise and a business? As a bookkeeper, I understand how numbers work and what happens. A franchise is a different animal, and you have to recognize that and honor it. And in the honoring of that franchise, the word need comes into play. Need. Not what does Abundant need, what does Eureka need? What do we need as residents and our tourists? What do we need? And I don't believe that that has been satisfied. Well, I don't even think we've answered the question of need at this point. But I appreciate you thinking about this. I want to encourage you to have discussion. You don't have to do anything tonight. You don't have to vote on it tonight. You can sit back and get some more feedback and see how this feels. But I am encouraging you, at the end of the day, to honor the word need and franchise and keep David White as our Eureka Taxi Company. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Rebecca Pope. How are you?
I'm Rebecca Pope, and I've known David White for 31 years, and I've worked in the bars here, and I've had the Benton Place for 23 years. He has always been on time, always served my people well. They came back and gave me great response from him, and I see no need for this crap. And so, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. John Turner. John Turner.
Coming.
Hey, John. Thought we lost you somewhere.
John Turner. I've lived here for 30 years. In the last 20 years that David's run the taxi service, I have not been a great customer, but every time I've ever needed a cab, it's always been there, it's always been on time, and it's always been fairly priced. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. F.A. Pittenger.
These people are at the wrong hearing.
How you doing, gal?
To move those chairs.
Hi, my name's Frank Pittenger, but everybody probably knows me as Roscoe's Guitar Shop, and then now Roscoe's Espresso Cafe up here. I've worked for Fuzzy for a long time, driving a limo, and I never saw any problems. I'm sure he's maybe missed a call over the years, but I've never seen anything but happy customers. And I just wondered if anybody on the council might have a question that I might be able to answer from working with him and for him, as long as I have. I've never seen any problems. We've driven a bazillion people out to Thorncroft Chapel and gotten them married, and Everybody's been really happy. And I've seen him carry a lot of celebrities, you know, people that have played at the auditorium. I think he carried Bill Cosby back and forth to the airport, maybe. And the guy's a one-man ambassador for Eureka Springs. He really talks us up and answers questions to people, and he's done a great job. I don't think we need another taxi service. I really don't. So, thanks everybody.
Thank you, sir. Lyle Pinkley.
I'm Lyle Pinkley. I've been Eureka Springs resident practically all my life. I've known Mr. White since 1980 at least. He's always fulfilled every need I've ever had. Anytime I needed to have my car worked on someplace, take it someplace, he would come get me and take me back. And I've had cars break down halfway between here and Tulsa, and he's come and picked me up and got me to the right place. This is not, we have a very unique town here, and it's not Bentonville or Rogers. Fuzzy provides a personal service that very few people can come up with. It's between the lines and not just a bottom line thing. He's done things above and beyond the call of his supposed business. He's helped people out that needed help, and the question of money came back not at all or later. The help was provided when it was needed. And we're very lucky to have a person like this here for all these years that's been here winter and summer, all night long. I called him up, and maybe he didn't answer right then, but I called 5 minutes later, and he was right there. And he's trying to do a lot of stuff with very limited resources. So I think it would be a great thing if everybody thought about what the true meaning of franchise is, which is, as has been said before, it's not just a business, it's another thing altogether, and we need to know what that means and honor that. It's like, are we playing by the rules or are we not? So, and I agree with several other people that, we should all talk about it and ask questions and think of who's been helping us out here all these years. And I've got nothing but the highest respect for Mr. White, and I think we all need to think about that and go on from there. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. What's your name, sir?
Gary Adamson.
Okay, Gary. Are you on our list here?
No.
Okay.
He just came in.
Oh, you did?
He just wanted to be added
I
after
wanted
the
to
last
be
person.
added, yes.
Okay. Would you come over here and add yourself?
Okay.
We'll make you number 24. Okay. I'm going to grab a chair out in the hallway. We'll get you up here as soon as we can.
I think there's one.
There may be. Matt Bishop. Got it?
Hear me all right, Don? Okay, thanks. My name is Matt Bishop. I'm here on behalf of David White, and I don't take the taxi. I'm not here to extol the virtues of either one. But I did want to talk a little bit about the law. I listened to your meeting last week, and I heard some comments about this is another business. Let's have more competition. What's wrong with that? Generally, I agree. Taxis are distinct, and I'm going to tell you why they're distinct. Lawyers, restaurateurs, realtors. The city doesn't have the power to dictate our hours of business. The city doesn't have the power to dictate where we can operate beyond zoning. The city has the power to tell Mr. White when he can operate. The city has the power to tell him how many cars he has to have operating. And most importantly, the city has the power, unlike any of the rest of us, to say, here's how much you can charge. Now, you choose not to do that at this time. You absolutely have that right. So you're really partners with your taxi franchise. And I'm going to forget the word franchise for the moment. I realize it's not in your current code. It's in a past version, and it was never repealed. But what you are is partners. And nobody's ever come to this partner and said, hey, we don't like the way, as a city, we don't like what you're doing. Here's our ridership. Here's what we need. Here's what we're going to need on this weekend. So how can we, as your partner, work together? The law gives you this unique power because the law also expects you to protect your franchisee or protect the privilege you grant, the taxi license. The law actually gives you a little bit of a monopoly, and the case law says, we understand in certain cases it makes sense for us, because if we have two and they both fail, we have nothing. So when somebody comes to you, they have to show a necessity. Your application before you right now shows no necessity. You have no hard facts. There's other thing the case law says is we can have people come up here and swear, he wasn't there 10 minutes, wasn't there 20 minutes late. Maybe they didn't have the car when I wanted them. That's not establishing a necessity. In the same way, if I wanted to open a trolley today, you guys can consider, how does that affect my trolley? Some people can come up here and say, the trolley didn't go to my house, darn it, we need more. That's not a necessity. Same thing with a taxi. Your application that you have before you from Abundant, who may be fine people, that has nothing in it about the necessity for an additional taxi service here. Your goal, under the law, is to create a system that's adequate and that you protect the investment Mr. White, your existing taxi service, has made in this community. You actually have a duty to protect his investment, because he, relying upon this necessity requirement, has made an investment in vehicles, has made an investment in infrastructure, has made an investment in employees. And so I think you have that duty to do that. So I would encourage you, at this time at least, to reject the application you have, because it is not sufficient. And even were it sufficient, I don't think you'll find the facts you need in terms of ridership, in terms of time, and all those things that you would look at for a taxi license, from want of a better word. The other thing I would encourage you to do is work with your partner. Say to your partner, we're short here. What can you do about it? Say to your partner, we think you need 5 cars. Can you do it? You can set that requirement. That is completely up to you, and that's a unique thing that the rest of us business owners don't have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. David White. Gary Adams. Go ahead, David.
I'm David White.
Step up here, Mike.
I moved to Carroll County in the mid-1970s, bought land in Carroll County. In 1977, I started working downtown Eureka Springs at the old Ford dealer building for Jerry Weaver, where the trolley depot is located today, and was in the passion play as a vegetable peddler and graduated to the role of Matthew. I bought my first house in Eureka Springs in 1980 and have been a property owner ever since. In 1989, I became aware of the need for taxi services. There hadn't been one for the previous 5 to 7 years. I applied in December 1989, was granted the taxi franchise and a certificate of public convenience and necessity on January 9th, 1990, after a public hearing and a unanimous vote. I've been operating 7 days a week since January 1990 without exception, even in 12 inches of snow or in the ice storm 2 weeks ago when I took a local business owner to the Springfield airport at 5 a.m. I am aware of the need for a taxi, and I've answered the phone over 364 days a year myself. I paid Alltel Verizon over $80,000 and have detailed billing showing calls answered totaling over 500,000 minutes. I estimate over 100,000 people have been helped without any complaint published in any newspaper or being questioned by the police department about anyone except a murderer that I picked up shortly after the crime. I was recognized as the second Citizen of the Week and the first to be recognized twice as the taxi driver. My drivers and I have been physically assaulted and handled confrontations without police or public notice. I provided nursing home transportation for 9+ years and never sent a bill because I considered this public service. I handled Medicaid transportation for Ozark Transit and Guidance and Transit for about 5 years without ever having a client miss their appointment. John Squires, head of Ozark Guidance, recently called me and asked me to be part of providing further service when he rebid Medicaid. In 24 years, no one has missed a scheduled airplane flight that booked with Eureka Taxi. In 1999, during the peak of Eureka tourism, I provided a parking shuttle involving 4 cars. which provided 2,874 of our visitors 5-minute service to town and back, and was so successful that a petition to the City Council requesting continuation of the service was signed by 124 businesses out of 126 that were asked. These people wrote checks totaling over $6,000 to continue the proposed extension of the service, which covered 1,100 people on Labor Day alone. The number one priority of business is money for profit. Some businesses choose to close in the winter or shorten their hours. It is not profitable to operate. This is their prerogative. A public utility's top priority is to meet the need. A modest profit is second, hence the granting of a franchise. Additionally, there's an obligation to run in unprofitable times. I succeeded by expanding service when needed, sometimes with 6 cars, and doing my own repair work. I raised my liability insurance to $1 million over 10 years ago to protect my passengers if an unfortunate circumstance happened. In 24 years, neither I nor any of my 20-some drivers has ever had an accident or been convicted of a traffic violation. Hot Springs, with a base population of 35,000 and a tourist population of well over 2 million a year, has 3 cab companies. Fort Smith, the second largest city here, with a population of 86,000, has just 1 taxi company. Because of my commitment, dedication, and personal involvement, I feel I can assess the need as well, if not better than anyone. There is no need for 2 taxi cab companies in Eureka Springs. The numbers don't add up. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Landers. Jerry Landers.
Where are we with it? How many do we have yet?
2 more or 3 more after Jerry. There you go.
Hi, my name's Jerry Landers. I work at one of the pharmacies here in town. That's kind of a hard act to follow, is David. But I just wanted to come in and talk about David for just a second. David brings passengers to the pharmacy to get their prescriptions filled and that sort of thing. You know, he's done that for ever since I've worked at the pharmacy that I'm with. I wanted to reiterate that, but you know, the supermarket and the pharmacy, those are 2 places in town a lot of people go to. I've never heard a negative comment made about David or his services. I just I hope that with what David has provided for so long, I just hope you guys give him the consideration that is needed in this situation. Let's cover all the bases before we look at doing something else. If we can do it within, you know, our means as a city and our franchisee, who is David, for these, you know, these many years, however long that's been, I just think we owe it to him and to everyone else. I appreciate it.
Thanks, sir. Gary Adamson.
Yes, I'm Gary Adamson. I've only lived here a few years, and I've grown to know David. The thing that I have observed, not living here for a long period of time, is having a little bit different perspective on different things. And one of them has been this matter of the taxi franchise. And from the beginning, I've wondered, when I've read stories about it, I said, why is everyone persecuting this guy that's running this franchise and has for so many years? Yeah, he is a businessman, but he also, and I've come to realize that too, is an institution. And Eureka Springs has many institutions like that, but I think it's really important to preserve this man and his operation and everything that he does for the community. I know that he steps forward in the case kind of humanitarian gestures at times, and I think that's really great. But I just hope that this thing gets settled and I hope that it gets settled and the city retains him and his franchise.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye. David Quarles. David.
Hi, my name's David Quarles, and I work for David White part-time. I drive the cab. I've known him for years. He does an excellent job, answers the phone when he has to. There's emergencies. We handle them all the time. It isn't as cut and dry as people think that it is. It would seem this is more of a move on his business than anything. I remember not long ago a man with a horse and carriage, and we came to his defense, rightly so. We don't want 8 horse and carriages, and I don't think we need 9 taxi cabs driving around. During the week, there isn't enough business to justify it, so people are taking the meat and potatoes on the weekends, and they're leaving the bread and butter for the one who does all of the important work, if you ask me. It's a franchise. It should be treated as such. That's my personal opinion. And thanks for the time to speak on the matter. Oh, by the way, a lot of the complaints, if you ever heard one, it's usually by a local who's salty, jaded, and has a political agenda. I love handling tourists who come here and entertaining them. It's a blast, and it usually goes off without a hitch. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir. Regina Smith. Hi. Come on in.
Hello, thank you for having me here today. And I'm here to tell you that I'm a resident of Eureka Springs because of the community of these people that are here. And David White is one of the people in this community that's helped me out tremendously at times. I'm a single parent, and I have a disability, and sometimes I can't always drive, or sometimes I don't have a car. And so David has always been there for me and my daughters. He's even brought a mechanic, Larry Evans, to look at my car to help fix my car at times. And I just wanted to say that David White is a very good man, and I'm happy to have him as a friend. And I know I can always count on him or his drivers to get me where I need to go, to the grocery store, to doctor's appointments, to bring my kids home from basketball games. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you very much, because I do love everybody in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
That will end our public hearing unless there's somebody else out in the hall that hasn't spoken yet. Both story. Sign up.
Yes, sir.
You the last one? Before you know. Okay.
Well, thank you all. Sorry I ran so late. So I haven't heard what everyone's had to say, but I'm sure it's all very good. My thoughts, and I've been involved in this discussion on many occasions through the last couple of decades, is that in the taxi franchise, as we had originally created it, is where we had included the limos as part of the plus for doing the taxi, because there was no taxis in Springdale, and there was no taxis in Rogers, Bentonville. They just didn't keep going. But here we had a taxi surviving in Eureka, and in order to help them survive, we thought, well, we'll go ahead and include the limo as part of the franchise, and that way he could build his business with the limo service as well as the 24/7 on the taxi. And that's where that originally had come from. In the years after that agreement, part of that was that when we had the hotel shuttles, that the hotel shuttles would be parking lot shuttles. But we've had them turn into a taxi. So Whereas there might be, if someone previously has claimed any shortcomings on the taxi service, then there's also been shortcomings on the city's end for not enforcing the parking lot shuttle, and allowing them to run as a taxi. And I see them dropping people off and taking tips at restaurants and liquor stores all over town, so they're running full-blown taxi, as we had agreed as a city not to have them do. And then also they've allowed the other 2 limo services that came into town in recent years and have been taking the cream of the business off the weekends, which is also taken away. So I wouldn't be surprised if we lose our taxi service because we haven't enforced our taxi agreements as we had originally laid them out. And that's my biggest concern. Also, I'd like to say that, if there's anyone that is unhappy with the taxi service, then is there a provision by which the city says you're not living up to your provisions? And here's what you need to do to bring it up to acceptability with your franchise. I would assume that that's what the city would do if they were considering or unhappy with the franchise as it's now being operated. And so I'd hope that that's been done, or that you would do that, because there's always room for improvement with anybody. But in this case, the taxi needs to improve. The city needs to improve on their enforcement of the laws to protect our franchise. And then any other services that you're considering, why do we need them? And those are questions I'm sure that you'll be asking yourself. So I am speaking on behalf of Eureka Taxi, and I've always had good service from them in all the years that I've been here, and I haven't owned a car in 7 years, so I depend on them, as do a lot of my friends who are also older or don't have vehicles, and he's always been there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. That will conclude our public hearing, 7 o'clock. Okay, next order of business is approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. Any changes,
Just-
deletions, additions?
Yeah, Mickey.
Get out of everybody's way here. Hang on.
I will.
Okay, let's start over here, Ms. Hiller.
Yeah, the item, discussion of raising council salaries. I would like to take that off the agenda. I've talked to Lonnie Clark about this, and we had quite a discussion on it, and I think probably instead of voting to spend money at this point in time, I think we should see how the season goes and whether we can afford this, and I would like to postpone this discussion until we're preparing the next year's budget, say in November, and we will know whether we are going to be able to afford this. I think it's premature. As much as I believe that we have to have more salary in the council in order to encourage people to run, because we have no guarantee even the people at this table will be running again, I think maybe we better delay this discussion until we find out what our financial situation is at the end of the year.
And I'll second that.
Okay. So it's number 2 under new business, postponed till
Yeah, discussion of council salaries.
November. Ms. Snyder.
I would like to add to the agenda, which we all thought was going to be on there, and whatever it isn't, I'd like to add a discussion of the taxi thing in regards to this public hearing we just had.
I'll second that.
To this agenda?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we all just assumed it would automatically follow that we would discuss it.
Okay, David, do you second it?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. DeVito.
Is that under unfinished?
It will go into new business.
Be number 9 or number 1 or what?
It'll be number 4 under new. Is that correct?
Number 4?
Actually, number 3
Okay.
now.
So well, it's number 3 now, yeah, but
Under new business?
for number purposes, it'll be number 4.
Okay.
It's easier to keep up with that way. Mr. DeVito, you had your hand up?
Yes, I would move to postpone item number